Hey guys, hope you're having a great day. Old buddy Tim back with another video, and in this video, we're going to talk about the weather. You know, Mark Twain is often credited with saying, everybody talks about the weather, but nobody does anything about it. One of my favorite sayings. We've also got a saying here in North Alabama, if you don't like the weather, hang out 5 minutes because it's going to change. And we've seen that a lot this winter. Usually we have relatively mild winters, pretty consistent winters, but this winter it's been up and down. It will be like 75 one day and it'll be 30 the next. For example, today, when we woke up this morning, it was 65 degrees. It is what, February? No, it's March the 17th. And it was 75 or 65 degrees when I woke up this morning. Well, now it's the afternoon. The temperature has dropped. It's supposed to go down to 40 this afternoon. So we kind of get the gamut of different weather here in North Alabama. But the one weather pattern that I think we are most closely associated with is that of tornadoes. That's one of the number one questions, at least one of the top questions I get a lot from folks who are looking to move here, and that is, Tim, tell me about those tornadoes, because I hear all about those tornadoes in Alabama. Alabama must be overrun with tornadoes. And I don't mean to make light of this, because I would never do that. The weather is a very serious issue, but I do think it's important that you understand when you look at the number of tornadoes that Alabama gets, how many of those tornadoes actually come through North Alabama on the weather pattern, and out of those, how many were an F0, an F1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, because that is the scale of how the National Weather Service ranks tornadoes. So I want to dive into that today because 2022 was the second most active year on record for tornadoes here in North Alabama. And so we're going to look at 2022. We're going to look at exactly what happened here, where it happened, the severity of it. And then I want to take you back in time and talk about the three major tornado outbreaks that have been here in my lifetime. And those being, I believe, 1974, 1989, and then 2011. So before we get started, do me a favor. If you like what we do here on the channel, we try to bring you the best content, give you the most information we can. If you like what we do, give us a thumbs up, click subscribe, and click the little bell. That way you never miss another episode. And if you are thinking about moving here to North Alabama, or you're already here and you would like the assistance of the fastest growing little independent brokerage in town, that is Revolved Realty, almost 100 agents now ready to go to work for you. So, all right, so what I want to do is I'm going to bring my computer up and we're going to just talk about tornadoes in general. Like I said, I want to get a good handle on the severity of tornadoes. I want to talk about the number of tornadoes that did come through here last year and how it typically affects life here in North Alabama. So let me pull up my computer. All right, so in 2022, we had 98 reported tornadoes in Alabama. Now, that was reported by the National Weather Service, which keeps a very close eye on such things. And that number 98 is, as I said, is the second most active tornado year for a long time. So we had 98 tornadoes, but I want to look at primarily our neck of the woods, which is North Alabama. So before we do that, let's kind of define what a tornado is. Now, I'm on the National Weather Service website, and I'll put all these links in the comments below so you can go check them out for yourself. Let me get my computer up here. All right, so here's the National Weather Service website, and I want to talk about the EF scale because that is the scale by which scientists and the Weather Service folks judge the intensity of a tornado. And a lot of folks that I talk to have no idea what that scale even refers to. So really quickly, the National Weather Service fully implemented what's called the Enhanced Fujita scale, that is the EF, on Thursday, February 1, 2007, to rate tornadoes, replacing the original scale, which was named after Dr. Theodore Fujita. And what that did was it basically estimated the associated wind speed based on the damage they cause. Now, I think that's a very important thing. The EF scale, they look at the wind speed and the amount of damage caused, and then that's when they give it an EF ranking. EF0, and we'll look at all of those in a second, being the lightest ranking, going up to EF5. And again, those are based on wind speed and the amount of damage caused. The EF scale provides more detailed guidelines that will allow the National Weather Service to more accurately rate tornadoes that strike, said Brigadier General David Johnson, who was in charge of NOAA at the time. The EF scale still estimates wind speeds, but more precisely takes into account the materials affected and the construction of the structures damaged by the tornado. So if we look at the EF scale, this is the original scale they don't go by anymore. This is the enhanced scale. This is the EF scale, all right? 3-second gusts of wind is what they measure this by. So an EF0, 65 to 85 miles per hour wind gust. It's pretty gusty. It's not going to do a lot of damage, but it is pretty gusty. An EF1 is from 86 to 110 miles an hour. EF2, 111 to 135. EF3, 136 to 165. EF4, 166 to 200. And an EF5 tornado will have winds in excess of 200 miles an hour. You know, anywhere from an EF2 to an EF5 can be devastating. EF5 tornadoes are those that just cause mass destruction as they touch down and stay on the ground. So I want to just give you that EF scale so we can now look at 2022 here in the state of Alabama. So we're going to go over to the Alabama Tornado Database. Now, again, this is part of NOAA. You can access this site and do your own. So looking at the database of tornadoes in the state of Alabama in 2022, there were 98. And let me say this, NOAA, you guys need to update your website because this literally looks like something out of 1975. I mean, this is pre-internet. But here's what I want to look at. If you look at an Alabama map, North Alabama, where we are, primarily our counties that we deal with here are Madison County, Limestone County, Morgan County. All right, so what we take into account are the storms in those areas. Now, if you go here and search on Madison, for example, we're going to get 3 hits, and let's see what those are. So this is the date on February 22nd of 22 in Madison County. There was an event. They had issued warnings and watches. And the main damage indicators from this tornado were at least 2 downed or uprooted trees, multiple areas of large branches. Now, this one was an F0 tornado. So if we go back over to our scale, 65 to 85 mile an hour winds, although the radar detected circulation. That's another thing that you've got to remember about tornadoes. You can have high winds, these kind of winds, without the rotation. Now, I'm not a meteorologist. Don't correct me. I love how you guys get in the comments and take me to task for not being a scientist. But this was an F0. It touched down again on February the 22nd. All right, so let's see what the next occurrence was. All right, this was on January the 1st, a New Year's Day tornado, which is incredibly rare. Most tornadoes here, I think, are spring, summer months, but this one happened on January 1. It was an F0. There were warnings and watches. The tornado touched down just west of County Line Road in Limestone County. Now, that is just west of the city of Madison, where a couple of trees were uprooted. It moved northeast, snapping and uprooting dozens of trees as it went. Tornado continued to east, cross the uprooting trees, cross the path, blah, blah, blah. So that was the second one, and I believe, let me see, I think there were only 2. Okay. So, okay, here's the another one again on 1/1/22. This one was reported in Hazel Green. So in 2022, in Madison County, where we are, there were 3 reported tornadoes. They were all of the F0 variety, which is the lesser winds. Still can be, can do a lot of damage, primarily to trees and that sort of thing. So that was Madison County. So in 2022, we had 3 tornadoes here, and they were all of the F0. So let's check out Limestone County. Limestone County encompasses Athens, Tanner, that sort of thing. So let's go down and find the first one. So this one, again, this was the January 1 tornado or outbreak that came through. Again, touchdown on County Line Road. So this is the same one that was in Madison County. Let's go to the next one. All right, and again, you see it says 4 here, but that just means it found limestone 4 times. There were only 2 reported tornadoes in Limestone County. And again, this was one, this was an F1, so the winds were a little stronger. F1 winds 86 to 110 miles an hour. And again, this is the January 1 outbreak, but when this came through, obviously the winds were a little more. So again, the tornado touched down near the intersection of Persimmon Tree Road and Senior Road. I mean, they really get granular on this. So again, in 2022, we basically had 3 reported in Madison County, 2 in Limestone County, and Morgan County is our other county that we serve. This would be Decatur, and let's find that one. All right, again, this one is on 5/26/22. This was an F1, so it had some pretty good winds with it. Tornado touched down on the south side of Wilson Mountain Road, just south of the intersection, etc. Snapped a couple of hardwood trees, did minor roof damage to a mobile home. Let me tell you something, guys. If it's raining hard and you're in a mobile home, get the hell out. You don't want to be in a mobile home. So there we go. In Morgan County, we only had 1 that was reported last year. And again, now I'm not trying to make light of this. I'm just trying to bring to light that just because there is a tornado reported, it is not a devastating tornado. It may be just strong winds. But again, I don't want you to get the impression that I'm making light of the weather, because I am not. So let me take a look at my notes here. Let's go to another map. This one, this is a great map. The Montgomery Advertiser, which is a newspaper in the city of Montgomery, put together this interactive map. These are tornadoes from 2022 all the way back to like 1950. And so what I want to do with this map is just kind of bring it up and let you see what did happen here in 2022. And again, Montgomery Advertiser, man, kudos. This is freaking amazing right here. All right, so if we are looking at this, this is the map of Alabama for 2022. Here is the EF rating. Let me scroll down a little bit. Okay, so we go from EF0 in green, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, all the way up to 5. Like I said, when you get in the red, you're getting into F3, 4. Those are devastating tornadoes. So this shows you the weather pattern, the tornado pattern for 2022. You can see a lot of them are here in the center. Now, I am not a meteorologist. I don't play one on TV. I don't even play one on YouTube. But the thing that I've noticed a lot is our weather pattern stems from what's going on in the Gulf. Whenever there are hurricanes, we get a lot of wind. Whenever there's bad weather here, and you can see the path. See these straight lines? These are the lines. These are the path lines. So it looks like the weather comes up across the Gulf and then comes across the state. So that's why you're going to see those weather patterns. All right, so let's focus in on our area here, which is Huntsville, Decatur, Athens, Madison. All right, so these are the tornadoes we just talked about that happened this year. Okay, this one here, this was the January 1, an unusual severe weather event for the time of year. Supercell thunderstorms developed during the afternoon into the early evening hours along and ahead of a cold front. The thunderstorms produced 4 tornadoes in Alabama. Also, several thunderstorm wind damage reports were received. In addition, excessive rainfall led to some brief flash flooding. Now, naturally, I don't remember that date because my attention span, but it will tell you what's going on. So on that date, you can see the tornado, they tracked it from this point to this point. And it was an EF0. Here's another one. This one was on probably the same date, if I can get a hold of it. Okay, this one was a month later in February 22. Okay, so this is a really cool map. So again, just so you're following along, here's Huntsville, here's Madison, Decatur, and Athens. All right, to the west, we've got Rogersville, Florence, and then to the east, we've got Scottsboro, Stevenson. So in 2022, these were the reported tornadoes here in North Alabama that we dealt with. Now, again, let me scroll back out, and you can see a lot of the outbreak comes through here. For example, the 2011 tornado, which we're going to look at in a second, really hit through this area hard, came through Tuscaloosa. All right. So if you take into account who had the most tornadoes in 2022, we've got 67 counties here in Alabama. Out of those 67 counties, 43 had reported tornadoes. Now, the most of those, I think 12, occurred down here on the Gulf. And again, the Gulf of Mexico drives a lot of weather patterns for us. So I think Mobile had 12, the worst of which was an EF1. Baldwin County, down in the same area, had 10. Choctaw and Tuscaloosa, which is right in here, each had 7. So those were the more active tornado patterns over the course of last year. Okay, so you can see in 2022, even though we had a lot of tornadoes, they were mostly, thank goodness, of the milder variety. Now, if you look down here, down Tuscaloosa, there were a couple of pretty heavy storms. These were EF4 and 5s coming through here. A strong storm system approached central Alabama in the afternoon of March 30th. A line of strong to severe thunderstorms moved west across the area during the evening and into the overnight hours. Let's see, numerous counties. A total of 12 tornadoes occurred across central Alabama. That included 3 F2s and 7 F1s and 2 F0s. So there were a lot, but thank the Lord, they were all of the lesser variety. All right, so let me zoom back out. And I want to talk about, just for a minute, the historical outbreaks that we've had here, the major outbreaks, at least over the course of my lifetime. And I want you to compare those to this year. So to sum up what we've talked about so far, 2022 was the second most active tornadic year since 2011. And it was a year where we saw a lot of major storms, minor rotation. And again, I'm not trying to make light of it. I just want to give you the full insight into the severity of the storms that came through. All right, so let's go back and look. There were, as I said, 3 outbreaks in my lifetime that were major, massive events. The last one occurred in 2011. And I love this map. You guys just need to go play with this map. All right, so compare what we just looked at for 2022 to what happened here in 2011. Let me zoom in. This was a major outbreak, and it went all across the state. You're going to see it range from EF0s all the way up to EF4s and 5s. And you can see the pattern again. Remember, I said it seems to come from the southwest and go north. So we had our fair share of tornadoes that day, and we had some pretty major ones. Now, the one thing that I remember most from this outbreak was that one of the tornadoes, and you can see we really had just one that kind of made its way across and did the damage. And let me tell you something, one EF5 is enough. You don't want multiples. But the thing that I remember the most is this tornado hit a power station and knocked out electricity. And we were without electricity for, I want to say, 4 or 5 days. And let me tell you something. If you, in this modern age, have never been without electricity for 4 or 5 days, it's an interesting thing. I mean, we were, we had all of our food in our refrigerators and our freezers were going to go bad. But it was an interesting time because neighbors were cleaning out their fridges and their freezers and just barbecuing and cooking. And I mean, there were block parties. It was really, even though it was not a great time, it was kind of a fun time. And I remember we had no lights at night, so everything, we had lamps, the oil lamps, we had candles. We actually read books. Remember those things called books? Because we had no internet. I mean, we had nothing. And this was 2011, so not everybody had a cell phone. And so that's what I remember most about that. But anyway, a powerful storm system roared across the southeast on April 27th. In the wake of the system, hundreds of people were left injured and or homeless, along with approximately 100 people who lost their lives. These were devastating storms. Make no bones about it. There were people that were killed in the storm. But you can see again the path across North Alabama. Basically, this one storm just kind of followed this path across. Now, it got worse down in Birmingham. Tuscaloosa was hit hard. But yeah, the April 27th, 2011 was, it was a tough day. It was a tough day. Thankfully, these kind of outbreaks don't happen very often. So this was in 2011. The one previous to that I can remember was in, I believe, in 1989. So let's pull that up. All right. Okay, so this was in 1989, and you can see there wasn't a huge outbreak of tornadoes. However, we did have one tornado come through North Alabama. And I thought this was, what was the date of this? November 15th, 1989. Not really a time when you think you're going to see tornadoes, but this tornado literally dropped out of the sky during a thunderstorm, and you can see it went across the city of Huntsville. It touched down here on the Arsenal and stayed on the ground all the way across. This is the Parkway going south. It cut across downtown. It cut across South Huntsville, went over the mountain, and finally out to Maysville. So this hit a part of Huntsville called Airport Road. This was in South Huntsville, and it hit during rush hour. And I was out of town that day. Chelsea, I believe, was just, she was a year old, maybe just a little over a year old. And her mother, interesting story, her mother actually worked for one of the local TV stations. And so when this hit, Chelsea was with my aunt, and her mother was actually down there filming them digging people out of rubble. So this was an interesting night because you can see it wasn't a big outbreak of tornadoes. It literally was a freak storm that just dropped one out of the sky. The only other outbreak that I can remember was way back in 1974 when the old man was 14 years old. And I remember this one because I lived out in the country. We lived on top of this hill, and it was farmland. We didn't have a lot of neighbors around. And I remember watching a tornado go by just north of my house. So if you look at this, this was on April of 74. And you can see again the weather, they come across, but check this out. These were EF5 tornadoes, the most devastating kind of tornado you're going to get. And this is what came across initially. Let me zoom in a little more. All right, here's Huntsville, here's Madison, here's Athens. I lived right in there. And I watched one of these suckers go by. And I know, it's silly, but my old man was a weather watcher. And I'm a weather watcher, meaning the family's in the bathtub covered up with blankets. We're in the backyard smoking cigarettes watching it go by. I can't help it. But this one was pretty darn devastating. An EF5 there, EF5 here. And you can see they kind of hit along the same path. And they went through an area called Anderson Hills, north of town. And they did a lot of damage. There were folks killed, a lot of folks injured. And again, thank goodness these sort of things don't happen often. Let me zoom back up here. And again, you can see that was the major outbreak, and most of the state south of Birmingham was spared, but North Alabama got hit pretty hard. So anyway, to sum up, historically, we have had 3 pretty major outbreaks here over the last, 50 some odd years. It is not unusual to get tornadoes here. It's just our weather pattern and where we are located, I mean, this is where they start. We are basically on the tail end of what's called Tornado Alley, which can run all the way up through here. Of course, you get a lot of tornadoes through the Midwest and that sort of thing. But bottom line is, yes, we do have tornadoes here. We had a lot of them in 2022. Thank goodness they were mostly of the lesser variety. They did do some damage, but mostly high winds. And, you know, it wasn't as bad as past outbreaks have been. So let me turn this off. Let me check my notes really quick, make sure I covered everything I wanted to cover. I believe so. So bottom line, guys, is yes, we do have weather here in North Alabama. And I always, you know, we jokingly say, well, we don't have hurricanes, we don't have earthquakes, we don't have forest fires, but yeah, we got the naders. And so anyway, again, I don't want to make light of that, but I do think it's important that you have the full story, because that is, again, probably the number one question that I get is, Tim, tell me about these tornadoes. And yes, they do happen here. The good news is there are a lot of precautionary measures that take place here. I talk about this quite a bit. The weathermen here and the weather ladies, they love the bad weather because they get to be on TV. And I know they would all condemn me to hell for saying that, but I think it's true. But the good news is whenever there is a storm system forming, it doesn't, well, let me say this. It very rarely forms in an instant. So they can see it coming. So when, you know, they can predict bad weather days ahead of time, so you can prepare. And so we know when the storms are coming through. Once the storm warnings and watches start coming on, the television stations do wall-to-wall coverage, and they do not go off until the weather is back calm again. So we have a lot of advance notice, a lot of time to prepare. A lot of homes here have storm shelters. We have a thriving storm shelter business here. So even a lot of the new construction, you can put storm shelters in the floor of the garage. So that's one way to be prepared. You know, naturally, if you're in a mobile home, you don't want to be in a mobile home when the tornadoes come through. You just don't. Trust me on this one. You are not going to survive if even a minor tornado hits you. But again, a lot of preparedness, a lot of TV coverage, so we know it's coming. There are measures you can take, and hopefully you will be safe. So there you go. I hope that was helpful. You know, like I said, I got a lot of flack on the last tornado video I did a year ago that, you know, I'm just trying to make light of things because I'm a realtor and I want to sell you a home. I'd love to sell you a home, but not at the if it costs you your life. Okay, so don't be silly. So there you go, guys. If you got any questions or comments, do me a favor, drop them in below. Don't forget, if you like what we do here on the channel, give us a thumbs up. Click that subscribe button. Click the little bell notification icon. And if you are in need of real estate services, whether you are moving here for work, we work with so many folks moving here for work. Give us a call. Contact information is below. And don't forget, if you are already here and you are thinking about selling your home or looking to buy, and you would like the assistance of the fastest growing little brokerage in town, that's us, Revolved Realty. We would be more than happy to work with you. So, all right, guys, that's it. As they say here, be weather aware, and I will see you next time.